Donald Trump's week, leaked transcripts, the White House revolving door and a looming Russia investigation. I guess it was inevitable the transcripts of that conversation would emerge eventually from the leaky ship that is Donald Trump's White House. And when you consider several Trump apparatchiks who would have been privy to what was said have been ejected over the past several weeks, the timing of the leak isn't all that surprising either. The transcripts confirm Donald Trump was seriously peeved he'd been saddled with the deal between former President Barack Obama and Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull to take refugees from Australian offshore detention. In truth, the timing was terrible for him politically because he had just announced travel bans on a number of Muslim-majority countries on the one hand, while on the other the deal forced him to at least consider accepting about 1,250 people from those very countries. He feared being forced to adhere to the deal would make him look weak by those who had just elected him for his strength. However, it's what Malcolm Turnbull said that's more revealing. "This is a big deal. It is really important to us that we maintain it. It does not oblige you to take one person that you do not want." The Prime Minister's comments validate the concerns of refugee advocates and the refugees themselves that while a good faith assessment process was agreed to, there is no requirement for the United States to take any of the people on Manus or Nauru. In the flurry that followed the conversation, Donald Trump announced so-called extreme vetting would be applied to the group. Homeland Security staff have been on the islands doing assessments, but the U.S. refugee quota for this year has already been filled. There's no news yet on whether any of those from Australian detention will get into the U.S. when the new quota period begins. There have been repeated denials that there was any sort of quid pro quo involved, although we know Australia agreed to consider accepting a handful of South and Central American refugees via a U.S.-led program in Costa Rica. The Prime Minister alludes to doing something more, but doesn't expand. "It does not require you to take any. It requires, in return, for us to do a number of things for the United States. This is a big deal. I think we should respect deals," he says in the call. The transcript confirms an abrupt end to the call. "You can count on me. I will be there again and again," the Prime Minister says. "I hope so," Donald Trump replies. They've been pretty friendly since, the Prime Minister displaying the support promised as the President continues to grapple with the niceties, complexities and frustrations of high office. By the way, the transcript of the call with the Mexican president is equally fascinating. It again illuminates the fact Donald Trump is more concerned about how things look, from the perspective of his supporters, than anything else. On the much-discussed Mexican wall, he admits Mexico won't pay for it, but asks the president not to say so. "Because you and I are both at a point now where we are both saying we are not to pay for the wall. From a political standpoint, that is what we will say. We cannot say that anymore because if you are going to say that Mexico is not going to pay for the wall, then I do not want to meet with you guys anymore because I cannot live with that. I am willing to say that we will work it out, but that means it will come out in the wash and that is okay." He came, he saw, he conquered, he got sacked. It was intense. The mooch promised big things as White House Communications Director. He took two big scalps in Sean Spicer and Reince Priebus, but in the end his foul-mouthed tirade to the New Yorker was too much, now with expletive audio for your listening pleasure, even for Donald Trump, or at least for incoming Chief of Staff John F. Kelly. Four-star General Kelly, a career Marine of 45 years standing, is tasked with injecting some discipline into the troops in the West Wing. The fast-talking mooch from New York did not fit in, so he was ejected on day one. General Kelly is said to be a confidant of the president. However, how the two will tolerate each other in close quarters as the general tries to bring order to the administration is something to watch. The president sent Reince on his way with some kind words. However, the loss of Priebus has been marked as a major turning point for some. Conservative Washington insiders muse without Priebus, Trump is a man without a party. And not surprisingly, there's a tweet for this occasion to Russia, with love. Finally, after some delay, the president decided to sign sanctions against North Korea, Iran and Russia, yes Russia, into effect. The president wasn't happy though. Take a look at these two releases the White House put out, one where the president keeps his mouth shut and the other where he lashed out at Congress. Interesting. For the president, who supposedly was coming to office to mend relations with the Kremlin, it's a cruel blow to those ambitions. The Russian response was fast and furious on Russia. The investigation into Team Trump is heating up, with special counsel Mueller using a grand jury as part of his probe into ties between Trump's campaign and Russia. While the investigation is a long way from completion, it's a sign Mueller continues to dig deep. CNN has also been digging, and its latest report is comprehensive on where the probe is at, including crossing the president's red line by looking into financial links with Russia. Why? Well, according to the article, which will appear in next week's Sports Illustrated magazine, the president says he golfs so much because the White House is a real dump. Fortuitously, renovations are underway for the next couple of weeks.